guys, this is the first topic I'm going to share with you in my new channel. This is the Inguinal Canal, which I'm going to share about to my friends. So what is it? It's an oblique intermuscular passage which is present on the lower part of the anterior abdominal wall, slightly just above the medial half of the inguinal ligament. So what does it contain? So it contains the superficial inguinal ring, the deep inguinal ring. Now the superficial inguinal ring. Now it is a triangle in shape. Now its dimension is 1.2 centimeters broad at base and an inch long. It is supported by pubic crest at its base. Now it has two margins, namely the lateral and the medial margin. Now these two margins at the apex, these two margins are known as the crura. Now at the apex, these are crossed by the intercrural fibers. Now the deep inguinal ring. It's an oval shaped or a round shaped, which is 1.2 centimeters just above the inguinal ligament and is lateral to the stem of the inferior epigastric artery. So now talk about the boundaries. It has the anterior boundary, the posterior boundary, the roof and the floor. First, the anterior boundary. So on its whole extent, it's covered by the skin, the underlying superficial fascia, and also the aponeurosis of the external oblique muscle. Now on its lateral one-third, we find the fleshy fibers of the internal oblique muscle. Now the posterior boundary consists of the fascia transversalis, the extraperitoneum layer, and the parietal peritoneum on its whole extent. Now on the medial two-thirds, we find the conjoined tendon and the reflector part of the inguinal ligament. The roof. The roof is made of the internal oblique muscle and also the transverse abdominis muscle. The floor is formed by the grooved upper surface of the inguinal ligament and also the lacunar ligament. So guys, so what is the importance of this inguinal canal? So first, the sex difference. In males, it is wider than in females. So there is more cause of hernia in males rather than females. Now coming to the contents of the inguinal canal, we find the spermatic cord in males and the round ligament of uterus in females. Now the spermatic cord, on the external spine, we find the external spermatic fascia and the middle layer, that is the cremastic fascia, which is derived from the investing fascia of the internal oblique, and the internal spermatic fascia from transversalis fascia, which is the innermost. Now the contents of the spermatic cord. Okay, let's remember by using a mnemonic. And this is the mnemonic. Okay, partying doesn't contribute to a good social life. Oh, this is something related to our generation things. Okay, I repeat, partying doesn't contribute to a good social life. So let us see the individual word. What does it mean? P stands for pamniform plexus of veins. D stands for the ductus deferens. C stands for the cremasteric artery. T stands for the testicular artery which supplies testis. A stands for artery to ductus deferens. G stands for genital branch of the genitofemoral nerve. S stands for the sympathetic nerves or fibers. L stands for ilioinguinal nerve. Inguinal canal, somewhat it's a weak part, so it has a great clinical significance. And this is known as the inguinal hernia, which is one of the most common disorder occurring in many people around the world. These are some of the common types of hernia, namely umbilical, inguinal and femoral hernia. These hernias are of two types, namely direct hernia and the indirect hernia, which are most common among the people. Okay. The A represents direct hernia and B represents indirect hernia. Now, coming to A, direct hernia, it occurs to the posterior wall of the inguinal canal. Mainly it occurs to the Hasselbalch's triangle. Now we'll talk about it later. Now the layers, the coverings of the the lateral direct inguinal hernia. So there are two types of direct inguinal hernias: the lateral and the medial. The lateral includes the extraperitoneal tissue, the fascia transversalis, the cremasteric fascia, external spermatic fascia, and skin. And the coverings of the medial direct inguinal hernia include extraperitoneal tissue, fascia transversalis, conjoint tendon, external spermatic fascia, and skin. Now B, the indirect hernia, or also known as the oblique hernia. It occurs due to the partial or incomplete patency of the process vaginalis, which is an invagination of the peritoneum. Now it may descend into the scrotum. The coverings are extraperitoneal tissue, internal spermatic fascia, cremastic fascia, external spermatic fascia, and the skin. Okay, as I said, we'll talk about it later. The Hasselbalch triangle. Now, it's present in the inguinal canal. Okay, now the borders of the Hasselbalch triangle. So the medial border is formed by rectus abdominis. The lateral border is formed by the inferior epigastric vessels and inferiorly by the inguinal ligament. So, if the hernia occurs in the medial part of this triangle, then there is known as medial direct hernia. If it's lateral, it's known as lateral direct hernia. Guys, thanks for watching our video, and please do subscribe and do support and like, and you're always welcome to suggest us in the comment box. Please do support.